another thing, speaking of the college situation, that's very near and dear to our heart is sports, college sports in particular. And it's been a long-standing debate as far as NCAA, especially basketball and football, where the majority of players are Black American, and for a long time they wasn't able to get any compensation at all. Now they just started to be able to get paid from endorsements deal with NIL, but they still are not compensated from the schools, and there's still some level of restriction as far as the economic impact for athletes. Can you talk about that and what you guys' thoughts and plans are as far as that's concerned?
For sure. So in my time at the Antitrust Division, I have spent a long time trying to think about labor markets. And I love sports because it's just kind of labor competition applied. And so thinking about the NCAA, it is worth taking a step back because it's only recently that college athletes, and to your point, Black and brown college athletes have been able to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. And it's worth asking why, right? So for decades, the NCAA essentially set the wages that these college athletes could make from their talent and their skill at zero. And there's no industry or no sector where that kind of price setting would be tolerated. And nonetheless, the NCAA, which is the governing body for all the colleges and universities that put on sports to include Division I football and basketball, that is what they did for a long time. And so there was a private lawsuit that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And I'm really proud that in early 2021, the Justice Department, on behalf of the United States, filed a brief in support of the college athletes, declaring that the Supreme Court should find the NCAA's conduct, which again was depriving these college athletes of their name, image, and likeness proceeds, and education-related expenses beyond a certain amount is illegal. And the Supreme Court decided 9-0, which means that every single Supreme Court justice agreed that what the NCAA was doing was in fact unlawful. And it paved the way for these athletes to get compensation beyond education-related expenses. Those fights are continuing, right? I suspect that we will see decisions coming out of a pending lawsuit about the ability of colleges and universities to directly pay athletes. I think those will come out of the courts in the very near term. The Justice Department, actually, the Antitrust Division just intervened and joined a lawsuit challenging the NCAA's transfer restrictions for college athletes. Recall that if you transfer a second time, the NCAA was forcing these talented athletes to sit out for a year. And it just seems hard to me to justify why they would try to chill the movement of these athletes. I think it remains to be seen where this goes, but I'm certainly observing that there are these PACs essentially that are offering athletes compensation, recruiting incentives, and the like. And so this will be very interesting. But again, I think antitrust has something to say for all of this. And it's really remarkable that just a few years ago, the NCAA, $1 billion organization, was not sharing any of those proceeds with the college athletes that were really the center of the talent and driving the entire enterprise.
For someone who's inspired by your story and what you're doing, what are some steps that young lawyers could take to get to where you are now for those who may not have been exposed to it as we weren't previous to talking to you tonight?
For sure. I think that the law is a noble profession. I think that lawyers can make a difference in the lives of people if you choose to pursue a career in law and public interest. Again, antitrust was really shrouded in a lot of mystery. It was not really well known even to practicing lawyers, just how fulfilling a career it can be. And I think that's changed. I think people are very conscious of antitrust. They are thinking about antitrust in digital platforms. They're thinking about antitrust in terms of the ability of ticketing companies to charge you excessive fees. They're thinking about it in agriculture. They're thinking about it in every aspect of their life. And I would say that people can intern at the Justice Department. They can spend their summers at the Justice Department. They can apply to the honors program. You can apply to be a United States attorney. And, there are plenty of opportunities at the Justice Department to work on antitrust issues. And, I would not be dissuaded by the composition of the antitrust bar or what antitrust opportunities might have been available previously. We have a big task ahead of us. We have big obligations to the public, and it's going to take all of us. And one of the things that we like to say at the Justice Department is that we can't do our jobs effectively if we do not have a Justice Department that doesn't look like the rest of the country, right? And so it's very important for anyone who is interested to think about these issues and to consider joining us. It's also an all-you-can-eat antitrust buffet. We can teach people antitrust. We just need people who care deeply and passionately about the public and want to work hard and take on companies that are doing real harm to real people.
Doha, you said the two most expensive things that you'll do in your lifetime, and for most people in their lifetime as well, is get educated and buy a house. So I want to talk about housing for a sec. I'll read you something. Today, there is a 30% point gap between Black and white home ownership rates, wider today than it was in 1960 when explicit housing discrimination was still legal. At the same time, the average seasonal adjusted U.S. home price has increased nearly 80% from April 2015 to April 2023. So I wonder what your department is going to do or is doing to address some of these statistics.
So the way that antitrust can be brought to bear to make purchasing a home or renting your home more competitive and to bring about the benefits of competition to that process are plentiful. So let's just talk about the process of buying a home. So if you're looking at buying a house anywhere in the country, what are you going to do? You're going to go probably get on the internet. You're going to go to Zillow. You might go to Redfin. You're going to go to some website that's going to show you an inventory of houses. Well, typically the real estate agents that are listing those houses or offering to show you houses are members of real estate associations, the biggest of which I believe is the National Association of Realtors. And so these real estate agents have extraordinary power over how you buy a home. Most people don't realize that both the listing agent and your agent, when you're buying a house, actually charge a commission. Combined, that commission can be 6% of the overall price of a home, which is really extraordinary considering how expensive a home is. And it often gets tucked into the amount that your lender is going to offer in terms of a mortgage. So the picture is actually worse. In addition to being charged the commission, you're probably going to pay interest on that commission over the life of your mortgage. It is incredible that there is not competition to bring those fees down. And in fact, a jury just this past year found that real estate associations were actually conspiring to artificially inflate the commissions that they were charging people. And so that jury found that just in the state of Missouri, that homeowners had actually been artificially charged in excess of $1.8 billion. That's billion with a B, which is a ton of money. And there are similar lawsuits that are being brought all over the country. I think to me, it's shown that problems in real estate actually run deep. The Justice Department has brought enforcement actions in this space. We're filing amicus briefs, again, those friend of the court filings, to make sure that we are putting our thumb on the scale to bring the price of housing down and to make housing more affordable. I'm really moved by the statistics that you just quoted. It is not great, obviously, that there's such a 30-point gap between white and black home ownership. And while, antitrust may not solve every single problem under the sun, but it can change the structural barriers to buying a home to include conduct that artificially inflates the price of a home. And just briefly, let me also hit rent, right? Rent is extremely high. People are being priced out of housing and apartments all over the country. We are aware that there are companies that offer software that essentially sets the price of apartments for real estate developers and landlords all over the country. And they may be using competitively sensitive information. And again, through the use of those algorithms, be artificially increasing the price of rent. That is a startling problem, and we are taking it head on. The sharing of that kind of information, unsurprisingly, is called information sharing, and antitrust has something to say about that. And so we looked back at guidance that we had issued and found that our approach to information sharing was way too permissive. And so just last year, the Justice Department withdrew safe harbors for companies that wanted to share competitively sensitive information. I gave a speech down in Miami about all of our concerns around information sharing, and particularly the way that machine learning and artificial intelligence can really exacerbate asymmetries between buyers and sellers. And I think that the way that it's affected rental prices is really a glaring example of that problem.